how do you worship the Creator? Has the Creator left a sign of his redemptive love? How do we worship the Creator of heaven and earth and find the rest and security that he offers? Let's go back. Let's let our minds go back over the centuries. Let's go back to creation and see if we can discover at the beginning of time how to worship the Creator in harmony with the call to worship the Creator at the end of time. Revelation calls us to worship the Creator. Genesis takes us back to creation. And let's go back and discover a surprising truth that's often misunderstood by many in the Christian faith today. We're going back to the book of Genesis. And there at Genesis, God shapes and fashions Adam and Eve. He fashions Adam from the dust of the ground. He takes Eve from a rib from Adam. And the Bible says this in Genesis 1, verse 26 and 27. Let us make man in our image. In the image of God created him. Male and female he created them. So there in the beginning, in the book of beginnings, God creates Adam and Eve on the 6th day. But on the 7th day, God creates love. On the 7th day, God creates a palace in time. God enshrines his own presence in time. And the Bible tells us that on that 7th day, a God of love came to fellowship with Adam and Eve in that garden. The Bible says in Genesis 2, verse 2 and 3, on the 7th day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had done. And then God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God created and made. On the 7th day, God set aside the Sabbath. Now, many people have the idea that the Sabbath is a Jewish institution. But how many Jews were around at creation? Were there any Jews there? Remember, the Jewish race came from Abraham. You have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the 12 sons of Jacob, and they form the 12 tribes. That's at least 2,300 years after creation. But at creation, the God who fashioned humanity, God blesses the 7th day. He sanctifies it because in it he rests from all his work. The 7th day Sabbath, given at creation, was to be God's perpetual reminder of our roots. So not some legalistic requirement, not some ritualistic like the Jews abused, but given by a loving God to invite us to come, to find rest, to find security, to find freedom from all anxiety, freedom in our Creator, freedom in the one that made us and created us and fashioned us. Now, God did 3 things on the 7th day. First, God blessed it. Now, you can get a blessing on any day you worship. Let's be clear. You can get a blessing whether you worship Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? But let's suppose I have 7 Bibles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I get a blessing any Bible I read out of those 7? Sure can. But what if I have a $1,000 bill and I put it in the 7th Bible? I don't have a $1,000 bill in my wallet. But if you wanted a special blessing, where would you have to go?
7.
The 7th Bible, right? So the only day in the Bible that God says he blessed is the 7th day. And if one wants the richest and fullest possible worship experience and the greatest blessing of God, I go where God put it. He blessed the 7th day. God blessed the 7th day by making it an eternal sign of powerful creation in infinite love. You see, in an age of low self-esteem, in an age when people are looking for meaning and purpose, we go back to creation. And there God set aside a day for us to enter into that palace in time, to find rest, security in him, to find this refuge in him. Now, notice, God sanctified the 7th day. This is at creation. What does sanctify mean? Sanctify means to set apart for what? Holy use. Now, that word is used in marriage. It's one woman is sanctified. She is set apart for all other men, and she is sanctified for her husband. Let's suppose that my wife, we've been married 50 years now. Let's suppose that she had 6 sisters. She doesn't, but we're supposing. And let's suppose it's my wedding day, and I'm standing looking at my wife, And I mean, she's as beautiful now 50 years later as she was back then. And so, and she can even fit in her wedding dress today. If you don't believe me, ask me later, and I'll show you a picture of our 50th anniversary with my wife in her wedding dress. Okay, but anyway, I got off on that one. So let's suppose that she's sanctified for me. She's walking down the aisle, and she's coming down the aisle. My heart's going boom, 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 and I can't wait, and I'm sweating. You know, I'm nervous. My knees are knocking, and she comes up, and the preacher says, I said, you don't have to say anything. I will, I will. So I'm saying, I will, I do, I do. And then let's suppose we're getting ready to go on our honeymoon. And I'm getting ready, and she's not there. She's getting changed someplace, fixing her hair up or whatever. And I'm there, can't wait. And her sister is she has 7 girls, and she has 6 sisters. Her sister gets in the car and sits next to me. I said, well, what are you doing here? She said, 1 in 7. What difference does it make? Does it make any difference? Why? Because one was sanctified. See, it's so simple. You go back to creation when God creates humanity. And as he creates it, he places a special blessing on the 7th day. He sanctifies it. And the Bible says God rested on the 7th day. Do you think God rested because he was tired? You think God said, oh, I'm really tired, I better take a rest? No, why? He knew we would be tired. And so he enshrined in time a blessing for us to receive from him. At creation, God placed a 7-day cycle into the fabric of our beings. Now, this is really amazing. We call it chronobiology. See, chronobiology is a new science, and it's so incredible because biologists are discovering a 7-day cycle, a clock in the bodies. And here's a new book that's just been written called The Secrets of Our Body Clocks. And weekly rhythms every 7 days, known in chronobiology as circaseptum rhythms, are one of the most puzzling and fascinating findings of chronobiology. Circumseptum literally means about 7. So in chronobiology,